button.
Hey,
All right.
good morning, CBGR. Today we have Dennis and David with CoStar with us today, and they're going to be presenting to you how to pull comps for both listings and sales. Is that accurate, Dennis?
Yep, that's it. You
All
got
right,
it, Ruben.
without further ado, Dennis, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks so much. First of all, I want to congratulate David Ballou. He got married over the weekend.
Welcome to the club, David.
So welcome to the club.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get the party started. All right, so this is going to be the CoStar home screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on multifamily today. The reason why is because residential agents, the easiest path is to do multifamily. So what I'm going to do is we're going to click on Pasadena, and then we're going to choose the property type. So we could choose office, industrial, retail, flex, multifamily, and we just added hotel last year, Gustavo. So we'll go ahead for now, just click multifamily, and we're going to do the 5 units and up. So in the last 2 years, there are 69 properties that sold for multifamily in Pasadena that are 5 units and up. I'm going ahead and change that and get comps for the last 6 months. And then so that drops it to 8, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and hit sort, and we're going to sort by sales price. So I'm going to go over a couple of these with you. And then what we're also going to do is I'm going to show you how you can look at buyers and sellers of multifamily in the last 10 years so you can look for more prospects. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at one of these. And sometimes what happens is the bandwidth with Zoom and CoStar, they're just fighting for it. So it takes a little bit longer than usual. So this one at 281 Madison Avenue, April 14, 2023, it was sold for $7.9 million, $376,000 per unit. And it was on the market for about 126 days, 21 units, built in 1962. So you have the buyer information here, seller information. You'll have the transaction details right here. And then you'll also have the sales notes right here too. Then we also can have the deed information. Original marketing flyers. And we know that 10 units were 1 bedroom and 11 units were 2 bedrooms. And it'll have the building information here. How much land it was on. It was on 13,000 or about 14,000 square feet. The amenities of the location. Then it'll have the traffic count and also the demographic information here too.
Hey, Dennis.
Question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Dennis, I just want to ask, do you want the agents to be interactive or to take their questions at the end?
You know what? Be interactive. If you have any questions,
go ahead, Jeff.
feel for it.
Jeff, the floor is yours.
Yeah. The one that you quoted, 7 million, Pasadena, right? Recently sold for 7 million, right?
Yes.
How much is the gross income? Gross income monthly?
How much was the gross income? So if we did have that, it would be under the financial portion of it, but it doesn't look like the real estate agent put that information, like the NOI or things like that. So we don't have that information or detail, but we do have like contact information. So if you wanted to reach out to that real estate broker, who is the listing broker, you could find out from Rodrigo.
You could also do your own underwriting of this property. So if you pull up this address in our properties tab and pull a rent survey under the underwriting report, that will give you market rent information pulled live from apartments.com. And you can take that information coupled with the information that we have about the unit mix and the size of the properties to get at, a rough estimate of market NOI on the property. Now that'll be different than the actuals at the building, but a lot of times multifamily property is advertised with like a pro forma financial package. So access to like the market rental rate information through our apartments.com relationship is a way to get at an income evaluation of a property as well.
Does that make sense, Jeffrey?
Yeah, but I want.
Sorry, I broke up. I think let me unmute you. Okay, there you go.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if I need to access the CoStar for the informations on everything and look what's happening and what can I do with the sale
Correct.
or a listing, do I need to pay you guys or can you give us an access on this one? How?
Yeah, so you can work with Peter and Ruben for that. Generally, you would have to pay, so you do have to pay a monthly subscription for that.
Okay.
I have a
Which if you're
question,
interested
Dennis.
in, yeah, talk to Peter and Ruben.
I have a question, Dennis.
Yes.
When you're looking at these, like for instance, this scenario we have right now, it's a comp from how long ago?
So April 14th, 2023.
Okay, so if the person who listed it, the commercial agent that listed it, if he listed it with the rent rolls, would you be able to have that? It's public record. Would you be able to have that in here?
Yeah, so basically what David was talking about, what we would do is we would go into the properties module, right? So bear with me while we do that. And then we're gonna type in the address of that location. So it's 281 Madison Avenue. And then within this field, we could get the rent roll for that property. So bear with me while I wait.
Ruben, to your question, like if the broker had that as part of the listing, then yes, those documents are included on the sale comp entry. Like if there was a marketing flyer with a rent roll, that will be there. Now, specific rent rolls for like individual properties, that is not public record information. That is just like whatever the broker and the owner decide to display, which a lot of time for multifamily in Southern California is going to be a pro forma, not the actual rent rolls. Right. Sometimes you'll get estoppel certificates in escrow, usually not in my experience. Like a lot of time it is kind of just going off of like what's written on a piece of paper somewhere. For in my opinion, the market rate rental information that's accessible from CoStar is a lot of times going to be a lot more reliable of like what current market rent is, as opposed to an individual property. Like one rent roll for a specific address, they might not be on top of rent increases. You might have tenants there from 30 years ago. You might have all kinds of deferred maintenance, like all kinds of different things can happen with an individual property. But like, for a rental vacancy for an apartment in California, 10 people line up, whoever wants to sign the lease first gets the unit. There's very little negotiation going on a lot of the time. Whatever that asking rents for a vacant unit, that's market rent. And that's what you have access to through CoStar.
Got it.
Yeah, so did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So let's say, for example, like I'll show you how to really quickly pull up the rents roll, right? So let's see, we'll do sales price per square foot. We'll hit done. We'll sort by that. And then we'll just go through like one of these properties and then I could pull like a rent roll report, for example. We'll just choose like 83 South Berkeley, right? And then we'll just click on the reports button once it loads. And then there's like a rent survey or a rent roll report.
And it's under the underwriting report.
See, so it's going to be a rent survey report. And then let me pull it up and generate the report really quick and move some stuff around.
Here you can hit the over on the very left. You see how there's like that.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Well, go back to that page really fast.
Okay. Let me go back to in one sec. Reports.
This is kind of a quick CoStar best practices and also just like talking about where this rental information is coming on from for a second. All right, so we choose the rent survey, we hit next. Now, blanket statement, when you're inside of CoStar, if you're generating a report, you'll find yourself on this page where it says rent survey cover page. There's a little drop-down box right there. Anything in that space inside of CoStar, those are your customization options for the report. Sometimes it's nothing. That means the report just is what it is. Sometimes there's all kinds of stuff that you can choose. So in this case, we're doing a rent survey. So the data to use for rent comparables, that default is going to be the apartments.com data, but you can make your own custom set inside of CoStar, save that as a search, and then you can choose it from the drop-down box here. So we click on that drop-down.
Oh, my bad. I hit generate reports.
it's fine.
It's fine.
You can choose your own data set. Now, specifically for multifamily rent comp information, like we just talked about, I think the apartments.com data is the best source of that information. But if you've already put together like your own list of properties, like let's say you're talking to a specific client and they've given you that information, you can also load that into this report as well.
That's precisely.
Yeah.
So one of the advantages too of CoStar is like there's going to be a lot of data. So a lot of real estate agents spend about 40 to 50% of their time looking up comps, looking up data and stuff like that, running reports. So this is something that we can do within a minute or two. So it just basically saves you time so you can focus on sales and prospecting.
I think you need to do a new screen share for the report window that pops up.
And then let's see.
Can you guys see that report or you still see CoStar?
No, we see the report.
Okay, it'll say like rent survey report, right? 83
Correct.
Berkeley
Okay,
Avenue.
okay.
All right, perfect. So basically, this is going to be a 45-page report. This is like the table of contents of the rent survey report. So basically, it'll have like the average effective rent in the area.
Which for those rents that are displayed, you'll see black text and orange text. Orange text is blended data from apartments.com. Black text is confirmed specific to that property by our research department. Like we just talked about, there can be all kinds of variation for a specific property. The orange data, I think, is a lot better in most cases. If the goal is what is market rent. You know, if we want to evaluate the specific property, like what is it right now today, then like, yeah, we want those estoppels. But for your clients, if the plan is to buy the building and increase rents, that market rent information is what you want.
And it'll take like rent comparables of all the apartments nearby too. So you have like the apartments.com data there too. So pretty easy. So if you want to try to, and Jeffrey, so long-winded question to answer your question, this is kind of how you could figure out how much money they're getting.
Okay, so like how to get approximate NOI from apartments.com. Go to the summary page on this report here. Looking for just the average market rent or market rent per unit.
Summary
Map and list, I think.
Let's see, map and list. There we go.
Right there. Okay, so our average rent per unit is at $14.63. So you can use that as your kind of rule of thumb or the $2.03 per foot.
Yeah, because that doesn't tell you an average is like a 1 bedroom, 2, 3 bedroom. It just give you average of all the properties in the area. So they give you an average thing.
Exactly. So like kind of, and that's why we give you like the list too, because like I think there's actually something important to mention about CoStar is like there's, you know, a lot of services and even some of our stuff, you're kind of getting to like you want to push a button and here's the number. With any of that's inside of CoStar, you can always kind of lift the hood up and see like specifically where that data came from. So like we've got that summary page showing $2.03 a foot. Well, if you go to that list of the individual properties, you can see, all right, this one is like these ones are 3 beds, and so it's getting a little bit more, like so on and so forth.
In this example that you're using here, you put this is a five units.
Correct.
Apartment. Can you just go specific like that one is 21 units?
Yeah,
Can
so
you just-
yeah,
I
so
just wanted 21 units.
correct. If you had CoStar, you can do that. You can customize the data and the information you want to look at. So now let's go ahead and jump back to the sales comp really quick. So I'm gonna go back to the sales comp module. All right, we're gonna go ahead and choose multifamily. And then we'll go ahead and do 6 months. And we'll do 5 units and up. Now we'll just go through one more property. And then what I'm going to do is after this, I'm going to show you all the buyers of commercial real estate in multifamily in the last 10 years and all the sellers in the last 10 years. And the reason why you can do that is that way you can see if you could get more prospects.
Kind of,
Yeah, like
kind of counterintuitive, but our sale comp database is actually a fantastic way to prospect for business. Like if you have a listing, you're basically generating like a hot lead list of prospective buyers, you know, people that have bought properties similar to whatever you put in as your filtered search.
Yeah, this is like one of the most underutilized module within CoStar.
In other words, you're saying that if I have a listing of 6-unit apartment, this in Gabriel Valley, this for argument's sake, and you say you can filter out all the buyers come to San Gabriel area.
Correct.
That's just it.
Yep.
The price, it could be exact by units.
Exactly. Yep, we
Okay?
could do that.
On the past 10 years, and you
Yeah.
look these people up.
Yep.
Or 6 to 10 or 6 to 20, or, you know, whatever your criteria is. But yeah, like pulling a list of like, these are people who actually transacted
Yeah,
and like organized into buyers or sellers.
gotcha.
Which the sellers tab is also kind of an interesting thing of like, tracking under contracts, you know, sellers, quote unquote. They haven't closed escrow yet. That's a 1031 opportunity. You might be like the savior that's come in with like their upleg they need right now.
All right, so this is the another comp that we have, 466 West Washington, sold on April 18th, 2023 for $1 million, 150,000 per unit, 7 units, built in 1950, has buyer information, seller information here, the sales note right here, has the deed, the buyer broker, the listing broker, the unit mix, 6 units were 1 bedroom, 1 unit was 2 bedrooms, has the building, the land information. Then we're gonna go click on the contact information. So we have the true buyer, who is gonna be Sean, and then we also have his phone number too, right? So then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go look at sales comps, and we're gonna look at multifamily that sold in the last 10 years.
So like normally when you're in here, that date range you put in, you're usually looking for like recent information, you know, just want property valuation information. For this list of buyers that we're putting out, we want to open that up a little bit. You know, somebody that bought 6 months ago, like, I mean, maybe they want another one, but like they probably already spent, you know, a chunk of their capital. Somebody that was like 5 years ago, that's a little more interesting.
And also, if you stretch out like 10 years and you see him kind of buying like every other year.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so I changed the search. Basically, we have Pasadena multifamily that transacted in the last 10 years. So there's 470 on record for 349 properties, right? So what we can do is we can click on the list mode. The list mode makes it look more like an Excel spreadsheet, right? So these are going to be all the comps for Pasadena in the last 10 years. Now, there's also a buyer's module, right? So we can see all the buyers of commercial property for multifamily in the last 10 years. So it looks like this company has done 10 transactions like that in Pasadena, right? So we can look up this company, look at their summary, what this company is about, information about them, and then we can see like all the properties that they own too.
Everything you'd want to know about them. What do they own? What do they sell? What do they lease? What do they manage? Who the contacts are with them? You know, like with that individual list of properties, like there's probably repeat owners in there. We don't want to have, you know, 5 different phone calls to the same person, also kind of tipping our hand that we didn't do any homework about who they were, you know, don't have any insight as to what they're about. This portfolio view is much more efficient, and you come across much more credible because you can talk to them about their entire portfolio in one conversation.
So we know that Tim Trout and Mandy Wang are the people that have been buying, right? So if you wanted to reach out to Tim Trout directly, you have his email address. You could email him directly within CoStar, or you could copy and paste his email address, his phone number, his address, and that way you could put it into your database if you wanted to email or send out mailers to him. Gustavo, you had a question?
Come back.
All right, he said come back to him, so we'll come back to him, right? So basically, now we looked at, so all these, we have about 14 pages of buyers, right? So go ahead.
Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, so there's kind of 2 very interesting columns on this page. There's the number of sales in search, and then there's the total properties owned.
Yeah.
So like the total number of sales in search, we have these 470 transactions across 349 properties. That's nice. You know, we want to know, like that one group, the Pasadena Capital, they've done 10 transactions in Pasadena. But it's also good to know that they own 18 properties total. Or like, what's that one with 1,700 right there? Is that SRS? A teachers union. You know, so you can use that to kind of qualify these people a little bit. Like, you know, who am I talking to before I reach out? Like, just like with the portfolio information. But like, if we're using this information like directly marketing, you can decide like, all right, yeah, I want to offer this to the huge investor with like this 2,000 property portfolio, or I want to go more mom and pop, like somebody who's got like 2 to 5 properties maybe. So that, I think those two columns are, it's important to understand the difference there and like what that information is telling.
Well, I'm talking about here.
So we have the number of sales in search right there, like how many of these transactions in Pasadena that we're looking at.
Okay.
But then how many properties do they own total?
So this would, the total would be like throughout the United States. Sometimes if they have properties in Canada or the UK, we also track that too.
So my question. are we-
Yes, question, Gustavo.
Right now, you're talking about buyers. This is a list of the buyers.
Yeah, these are listed of all the buyers. Correct.
Which it becomes also a seller, possible seller.
Correct. They could be
You said
potential
you go
sellers.
To the other side, and you have phone numbers for the sellers.
Yes, so we just talked about buyers. We looked at the phone numbers for the buyers,
They-
right?
you know.
So now what we can do is we could click on sellers, right? So now these are all sellers of multifamily in Pasadena that have over 5 units in the last 10 years. So we have 470 records of these.
Number
And then-
5 is a insurance company. Can you open it up?
Yeah, definitely. So Gustavo wanted me to open up this insurance company and see more information about them.
Also, is that their number right there?
Yeah, so that's gonna be their phone number. And then we'll see like, these are all the properties that this company owns. And then when we click on the contact, we don't have the contact information as far as the person, but we do have the phone number of the company though. So let's say, for example, like Mill Creek Developments, right? So Mill Creek Developments, they're a true owner. They own 5 properties for a total of 191,000 square feet, right? So these are gonna be all the properties that they manage and own. Go into properties. This is gonna be in a like kind of like an Excel format of the properties that they owned.
Also, like anything they manage, anything they used to own, like that we do track like those different like buckets that the property might fall into. Like if this was a third-party property management, are they the property manager, but they don't own it versus properties that they do own themselves that are managing? Like, yeah.
So if you wanted to get in touch with one of these sellers, right? If you wanted to talk to Charles, you can email him. You'll have his email address, charleshancock@gmail.com. You'll also have his phone number and then also where he's located.
Are this accurate information?
Yes, it's accurate information. Basically, we do have a timestamp. Our team actually calls these people and verifies their phone numbers and everything like that.
How often?
Depends. So like it doesn't display in this view, but if you're looking at like an individual property record, like in the properties tab, and you go to the contacts section there where it has all the information listed out, any piece of contact information there is timestamped. Now, of course, people change phone numbers and email addresses. We have no control over that. If it's, says, good since like, 2005 or something, like, yeah, that might be, outdated information. But on that date, whatever's displayed there right there, someone from our research department spoke to that person and confirmed the information there.
Yeah, especially if it's a sale.
Yeah,
You
Correct.
have both information. but
correct.
If it's something that they acquired like 10 and 15 years ago, it might not be quite.
It depends, if it's somebody that has like a high level of activity, like we're basically constantly getting, updates on their
There's a
portfolio,
thing.
then yeah, that's gonna get updated. If it's somebody that, owned a piece of land that they bought 50 years ago and then sold it once, then disappeared, like, yeah, that's a little harder.
Well, Dennis, how did you actually get to this page? You went to search, you went to multi-family?
Yeah, so the question is, how do I get to this page? So let me go ahead and redo that really quickly. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start off at the CoStar homepage,
Right,
right? So I'm gonna wait for it to load.
go to sales,
Then yes, correct. Go to sales.
Right.
Then we go to sales comps. Then we're gonna type in the city. So in this case, we just typed in Pasadena. You put in the property type. So this is gonna work for like office, hotels. Yeah, go ahead, Gustavo.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know Pasadena is a city, but when are you looking in Los Angeles? But you don't want to hold the whole thing. How do you narrow like the specific area that you want to concentrate?
Yeah, so
Do you
the question is, how do you narrow it to like, a specific sector? That's something we can teach you in a more advanced class 101, but it's super simple.
Right.
I've had it where we could just add a bunch of cities together, and do it that way. That's probably the most
Oh,
cleanest.
right?
Yeah, we'll type it in and then we could put like in the locations module right here. We'll just put in all the cities that you want.
You can choose cities,
Yeah.
zip codes, counties. CoStar's marketed submarkets, you could draw a shape, like there's
A shape, okay.
any way you could imagine to chop
Maybe
up the
you take
territory.
4 or 5 cities, and then you want to narrow it down within each city, different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get tons if you get 4 or 5
No,
cities.
you can have the cities and then you can add more criteria.
Yeah.
Criteria.
To narrow it.
So you
No,
you could always
more
add more
units in those
filters,
cities.
correct?
Okay, years,
Right.
price, or
Right.
you want to own this last thing, only lease family.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I would say like the sort of blanket answer to all that is there's over 650 different filtered search fields here. You can be as specific or general as you want.
Right.
Now, like generally speaking, you don't want to be like too specific or too general,
Yeah,
but like,
sure.
that's kind of up to you to determine like what criteria you want to put in.
The problem is there's so much to learn and so much to know, you kind of get lost in all.
Yeah, and the cool thing is if you have David and I helping you out, if you have a CoStar subscription, we can kind of like just have you focus on what project you're working on and show you exactly what to focus on, right? So like, we've been with the company for over a year and a half. We know pretty much the majority of the filters and stuff like that. So we can kind of like cut down the time where, you'll spend a lot of time if you did it yourself. But if you have a CoStar account, you have the both of us helping you out.
So you went to the property and then you gotta go to
Yep.
sales comp.
Yep, and then you do sales comps, and then you're gonna do the last 10 years. And
Okay.
then what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on this list mode
Oh,
right
okay.
here. And this is where you're gonna get all the buyers and then the sellers. All right. And then
And
you could even see who the buyer brokers are. You can see like who the top agent companies are too, and all the top listing brokers.
And you can either stay inside of CoStar here. The benefit of that is like pulling up those individual like owner portfolios, like seeing all that in one place. Or you could just take all this information, export it as a spreadsheet. Kind of, up to you how you want to.
When you on the sheets, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So now another question that we had was basically, loans, interest rates are a big deal at the moment, right? So what we can do also within CoStar is we're going to look for properties that have loans that are coming to maturity, loans that are coming due, right? So you can reach out to these people because, they might have interest rates that are going to be rising and they might not be able to afford the property anymore. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to go to Pasadena. And then we're going to,
You
yeah.
should go to homepage first?
yeah, homepage and then click public records.
Oh, go to public with that, okay?
Yep.
Yep. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter and then I'm going to hit more and we're going to filter for loans right here. I'm click on the loan data and I'm going to choose loans that are going to be maturing in the next year, right? So boom, hit done. So in Pasadena, there's 40 parcels, basically properties that have loans that are going to be maturing in the next year. Go ahead.
But that you didn't put filters, so this is everything within.
Correct.
1
This is
year.
going to be everything.
Many.
Yeah. So there's not many, right? So
I mean, specifically in Pasadena.
yeah, in
All
Pasadena.
types of property.
Yeah,
All type of
yeah.
commercial property, only cool.
Yeah. So this is going to include, so 40. Yeah, 40. So this is going to be 40 properties in Pasadena that have loans that are going to be maturing in the next year. So this will include hotels, will include everything, basically, office, retail. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of them and I'll kind of show you the data behind it.
I'm positive they came and took pictures and sent.
So what we can do is we can click, you know what, let's go ahead and look at the summary really quick. So you'll have the parcel, you'll have the owner ID, the last sale date, the last loans, right? We'll also can look at the loan information right over here, right? And then so when we click on the right, when we scroll over a little bit, we can see like what loans maturing. So this loan is going to be maturing 1/1/2024. And it looks like it's gonna be like a 900,000 nominal with financing loan. So if you wanted to, you would just basically go through each property, look at what loan is gonna be maturing and find out more information on the properties, right? So this particular property, they will have a loan.
Come over here and do something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Buy some spray. I don't care what you do.
Yeah, it looks like someone's talking in the background, maybe.
It's the
Let me
management.
see if I can mute them.
Move in.
There we go. All right, someone stopped talking.
Yeah.
All right, so this loan is gonna be maturing 10/1/2023. The loan is $1.4 million.
Hold up.
Yep, yep. So someone said call her up. Yep, so you could call her up. All right, now the last thing we're gonna go is lease comps. Or sorry, yeah, we could look at lease comps. We could also, should we do like tenants with expiring leases? Would that be helpful?
Let's
Or
do,
lease comps?
I think we should do, to cover the other maturity information
Yeah.
would be CMBS.
CMBS,
loans,
sure,
And
let's do
then,
that.
we can do, lease comps.
All right, so now we're gonna do CMBS loans, right? So I'll have David explain into it while I look
Okay,
for
so
it.
CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed security. This is a type of loan that is available to buyers of commercial real estate. The important thing to know about a CMBS loan is that the borrower has to report their actual operating statements as part of compliance with that loan. So that challenge we were talking about maybe like 20 minutes ago about like pro forma rent rolls and things being released, super common in commercial real estate. Very hard to get your hands on the actual operating statements for the property. Most of the time, you're not going to get that until you're actually in escrow. With these CMBS loan properties, we have access to that information now. So if you're in the properties tab, and I can take over.
Yeah, we'll have David take over. So
CMBS.
CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed security loans.
Back to good, I mean, you have to report everything.
Correct. You
Okay.
got it.
So we're in the properties tab. If you hit filters,
And do you want to move it to Los Angeles or that's good enough?
this is fine.
All right, cool.
I just want like some examples. So if I'm in properties and I hit filters and loan right here, this is just CMBS loans in this section of the database. Public record has like all of them without like the same level of detail. You can't get the maturity dates, but if you're in the properties tab and you hit loan right here, this is just for CMBS loans. So let's hit active. And this will take a second. So in our map view right here, we have 298 of these properties. I'm going to pull up one just like as an example. So now we're on an individual property record. If the property doesn't have a CMBS loan attached to it, these loan and financial tabs just don't have anything, because we don't have the loan information. The financials, I think it shows like market rates. But if this is on a CMBS loan, this is the kind of information you can get. It's like their origination balance, their current balance, that LTV. Looks like this one's tied to two separate loans, so you can get insight into both of those notes. Origination date, the interest rate, is it fixed? Is it variable? Is there an upcoming maturity? Their 12-month payment history right here.
The whole enchilada, man.
Yeah, the whole enchilada, correct.
Good.
It's
I'm the owner, I'm pissed.
I have been in presentations of me talking to like ownership groups about like whether or not they should buy CoStar, and I pulled up their properties tied to CMBS loans, and they are like uncomfortable that I can see all this basically. But this is part of the deal with the CMBS loan. This is like, that's they signed up for that when they did this.
In order for them to get that, they.
But once you pull this one out, this is all property in which area?
Well, this one, I just like picked a map area. There are CMBS loans kind of all over the place.
I know, but the one, the criteria you're saying right now is all the property in which area?
That's right.
This was like around Ontario.
Yeah, so basically where my office is located, we're based in Ontario, so this is gonna be like around Ontario.
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah, you can pick anywhere in the United States.
In Southern California, I think there's about 6,000 properties tied to these loans in our database. So it's not everything, but it's definitely a nice, healthy, list.
Yeah.
Now, if you click on financials, this is the kind of information you can get. So like these are their actual operating statements for the past 3 years.
So this was something that Jeffrey was wanting to get earlier when we were doing the discussion.
Correct. So if a property has a CMBS loan, you can see these actual operating statements broken out into line item expenses here. So there's two things I can do with this information. Number one is for that property valuation, we have a very accurate net cash flow on this property. So like that cap rate, your NOI is like actual financials, not the pro forma. The other thing is, let's say I'm representing a buyer looking at this property. Well, I know I'm not going to do third-party management, or I have my own maintenance people. You can kind of pick apart these individual line items based on your client's expertise to get to a more accurate valuation of that property. So very interesting applications we can do with this. Another really cool thing as far as like a filterable search, especially one that I would save and set an alert for. let's do like San Gabriel Valley. Nope.
3 properties.
So this was the question, if you wanted to target San Gabriel Valley, like different cities in San Gabriel Valley, this is how you would do it. So if you have CoStar, we can kind of coach you and
Got it.
teach you how to do this. We could save your search, so you don't have to keep doing it every time. You could just do it one time.
All right, so we have 114 multifamily assets in San Gabriel Valley tied to one of these CMBS loans. Are any of them delinquent on their payments?
Cool.
Wow.
All the way up to REO? Looks like no right now. Okay, people are paying their bills.
Wow.
But they provide you the information annually, right? I mean,
How about anything on the watch list?
Say that one more time.
these people provide me information to CoStar every year or what?
Those, the operating statements are reported annually, yes. Yeah. Now, watch list here, this is like basically, it's not, I wouldn't call it pre-foreclosure because that's still like further down the line. But basically, like the servicer notices something going on at the property that is a sign of alarm for them. Maybe it's an increase in vacancy. Maybe they have fallen delinquent on their payments. Maybe there is a big change in their interest rate. Something basically has gotten the servicer's attention of like, I'm paying attention to this property now. That's a filter right here. So current, previously, or never was on the watch list. So there's only 3 of them in San Gabriel Valley right now. But because we have at least one search result, I can save that, set an alert. I can get an email and notifying me anytime one of these properties has been added to the watch list. With the delinquency, as long as you have one search result, you can do the same thing. So like there weren't any delinquent ones in San Gabriel Valley. If I expanded that a little bit, as long as I have one search result, save that search, set an alert, you can jump on an opportunity like that.
That's, you put San Gabriel Valley, right?
Yep.
So all the cities are there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this what you're looking at right here is
Right.
the multifamily San Gabriel Valley cluster.
Mhm.
So like all these individual submarkets here, they're all kind of, grouped together as one chunk here, with Pasadena excluded. Pasadena has enough multifamily inventory to
Right.
kind of treat by itself.
So what is that, those 3 properties right there? What
These are 3 properties that are currently on the watch list from their servicer.
can we see?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
near San Marino, Alhambra? Yeah,
Covina and Monte.
yeah.
What's his number name?
Let's see.
Monte. What was the third one?
It was yeah, Covina, Monte. I think the one at Monte's a mobile home park.
And we got 20 minutes left, so we promised Peter and Ruben will go over lease comps. So as soon as we finish this, we'll start on lease comps.
Last thing I want to show you on this is we can also get commentary from the servicer. So this one's added to the watch list. This is going to tell you why and basically notifying you like, here's what the servicer is seeing from this property. This is not CoStar generated. This is from, in this case, Freddie Mac.
Oh, Freddie,
Nice.
my cousin.
So read down the loan. Did it say like, because basically it's only like 70% occupied?
Yeah,
That's the
70%.
reason why it's
70%.
Yeah, they went from 95% to 70%. Most recent DCR is 1.11, which is a decrease from 1.18. So basically they had a bunch of people move out and the rent dropped down. And so the servicer is saying like, all right, what's going on there?
And that's 313.
Yep.
And that's an apartment building?
This is an
yeah,
apartment building.
multifamily. Yep, correct. Multifamily apartment building. Yeah, so click on the contact information. One of you guys should call them.
True owner? Oh, they're realtors. They're realtors. Yeah.
I think this is investor. You would be surprised actually how much investment is taking place on behalf of like real estate companies. Or, take our recorded under here and do your own research, by all means. The important part here is this stuff. Their loan and financials. We know this is on the watch list now because they just had a drop in vacancy Let's combine that with everything we know about what's happening in the market right now, change in interest rates. Very interesting prospect right here. All right, that's the CMBS loan information. If anybody has any other questions about that, please contact us directly. We have a lot of things to talk about there.
You have nothing to do with interest.
How much is the CoStar subscription?
So we got a question, how much a CoStar subscription is. So generally, it's gonna be at least $500 per month for a 1-year subscription. However, because there's so many of you that have a CoStar subscription, you can work with Peter, Cam, and Ruben. I believe at the moment it's around like $360 to $380 per person per month for a 1-year subscription.
But talk to
But
Peter.
talk to Peter and Ruben just to double check and verify that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we've gone over, or go ahead.
yeah, I just want to comment that it's for the monthly subscription. It's not for 1 year, but you have a commitment of 1 year, but you have to pay every month for the subscription.
When
300, did you say 300?
And
Something
Peter,
like
how
that.
much are you charging for it?
360,
350.
350? Okay, that's
360.
really good price.
360.
360, yeah, 360, because normally we charge 500 and up.
And I will say, so I was a customer of CoStar before I came to work here. I would think about that as a 12-month commitment, like that 360 times 12. That is you're investing that in your commercial real estate business. I think that's important because there are a lot of real estate agents who don't really think of themselves as small businesses, and that's really what you are. And so you need to be thinking about, like, these are expenses for my business that are going to enable, you know, A, B, C, D, and E, write off on your taxes at the end of the year, all that good stuff.
And it looks like there's a chat.
Yeah, what we got? How many units is the most common multifamily investment? That's a good question. What is the most common size of a multifamily investment?
So that's gonna be something we can actually look up the data. We can actually go into sales comps. We can find the total number of transactions that sold for each one. So if you had a CoStar account, you can find the answer to that question.
I think it depends on the investment.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and move on to lease comps now.
Okay, so we're in the lease comp database right now. This will look, you know, pretty similar to the sale comps, but now we're talking about commercial leases that have been signed, not sales, which these are not apartment leases. The apartment rental information is different. This is like office, industrial, medical, retail, flex.
From the beginning, from the
Homepage.
Sure.
Sure.
It's down here.
It looks like there's another question that just popped up, maybe.
homepage.
Okay, so we're on the homepage. I'm going to click leasing
Oh, leasing, okay.
and then lease comps.
Oh, lease comp, okay.
Okay, so let's look in like Pomona. That's a very popular industrial area, a lot of warehouse space there.
Wow.
So in our database right here, we've got 2,609 total lease comps. That's across all asset types, all timelines. Let's look at industrial. I want to check off these 3 rent type boxes. I'm going to talk more about this in just a minute. And let's say signed in the last 6 months. So there's 14 of those. So that's our like recent comps right here. And I'm going to hit view results.
And I think Gustavo has a question.
I
Yes.
see they have office, industrial, blah, 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 but you don't have restaurants.
Restaurant, it falls under retail. And if I hit additional criteria here and then building, you can, secondary type, it's in there.
Yeah, and you can do like restaurant, quick serve. So there's a
Restaurant,
way to do that.
Right.
I'm doing industrial because those are like fairly simple, but yeah, like if you want to get more complicated, like again, bunch of different fields here.
And you can even do bars. Like I had to help someone with a lease comp for a bar. So there's like
Yeah.
so many like different fields you can do.
All right, so I'm gonna hit view results. So now we're looking at these details for these 14 lease comps of industrial property in Pomona that have been signed in the last 6 months. Now I want to talk about the rent type here. So CoStar tracks 3 different kinds of commercial lease rates. Blanket statement, lease comps are far and away our most difficult data point. There's basically no public record component to this at all. So we track asking, starting, and effective. Asking means we are displaying the rent that was on the listing. It was the asking rent. There might be some variation there. We don't know. We're displaying the asking rent. Next is the starting rent. That means we confirmed, yes, this is the rent that the tenant is paying when they move in on whatever date. So it's the starting rent, a little bit more accurate. The best is effective rent. Effective rent means we know their starting rent, we know how many months free they got, we know what their tenant improvement allowance was, whatever concessions, that's going to go into the calculation of that effective rent. Now that's important to pay attention to because you'll notice on a few of these, like this one right here, that effective rent, it's displaying as 14 cents a foot. Now that looks really low compared to the rest of these, but if I go into this lease comp record, you'll see, I'll come to you in just a second, Oscar. Their starting rent is $1.65. The actual rent is $1.75. They're getting a bunch of concessions here. You know, probably like a big tenant improvement allowance and probably several months free rent. So you like, yeah, like for my calculation, like in the system here, my 14 cents a foot here, I probably want to get that out just because it's going to screw with the numbers a little bit. But if I come into this record, I can see, you know, what's happening there. And so like now like in my head, I've got this $1.75, you know, $1.65. Let's see how that compares to the rest of the results we had.
It's saying rent discount 0.71%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, just like with the sale comps, you know, we probably want to go through each one individually, decide like if they work for us or comps or not.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get rid of this one because that 14 cents, you know, is pretty far off the rest of these. And let's get rid of this one. That's another one, you know, that's going to have those concessions accounted for. And then let's get rid of just like the high and low, basically. So we'll get rid of the $2.70s.
I see a lot of those leases sizes are like 14,000, 15,000, 14,000. That's the biggest one. What about if I'm looking for like a million?
We'll do that in just a second. No, this was just in Pomona, so like there's not any million square foot.
Different areas, right?
Yeah.
Newer places.
Yeah. So once you're down to like, all right, this is the set of comps that I want to use, click analytics. Just like on the sales comp section, this basically just does the math for you. So like our survey, that's the average basically of starting asking an effective rent right there. So like $1.36, $1.42, let's call it $1.38, you know, split the difference. That's our rent comp. That's our like market rent for industrial in this area. Any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. Go back to
this is Steve. I just want to give you a comment.
Sure.
Regarding the industrial lease. The industrial lease is sometimes, from my own experience, the owner can demand the agent do not report any kind of sales comp at all. If that is the case, even CoStar call me, or even AIR call. AIR usually knows, you know, you cannot provide the rent comps. And for my experience, lots of agents call me or email me, can you give me the comp? Can you give me the comps? And I have to respond to me, sorry, by the instruction of the owners, I'm not authorized to release this information. So some of the comps, particularly on the industrial, shows even on the CoStar, sometimes it's not really reflect the market. So be careful on that. I won't say CoStar is not good. CoStar is probably, for my own experience, it's one of the best for you to find the comps. But be careful on the industrials.
That's touching on what I had mentioned at the beginning of just sort of like the blanket statement of lease comps are difficult data to collect. What he's saying is correct. There are some landlords who will say, do not release any of the rental comp information. Now, we have 1,600 people whose only job is to track down this kind of information. So we are like investing a lot of time, money, and energy to try to collect this stuff. We also allow people to upload their own lease comps into our database here. That does not get commingled in with the public data here. So like, let's say I'm looking at this, you know, we've got these 9 lease comps right here in this area. Let's say I've done, you know, 5 industrial leases that are not in CoStar here. I can upload my own lease comps in here and have that commingle just for me with our data and still be able to pull it into like the analytics tab, for instance. So that's, I would say, like best practices with lease comp information, like use us as a starting point there. If we don't have enough entries for what you're looking for, I would start reaching out to brokers that have listings or have, you know, are showing up on these comps, see if they'll give you additional information. Lease comps are tough, definitely. There's like no getting around that at all. Now, to your question of like larger ones, I'm actually working on this exact list with a client of mine.
What's up, Ruben? Oh, go ahead and mute. Whoever. Sorry.
Where is it? I think already.
Just mute all.
Okay.
And then unmute us. Yeah, we're good.
Are you unmuted?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say we want to do industrial, and let's say minimum 500,000 square feet.
Yeah.
366 of those.
Wow.
I would say we actually probably do a better job of collecting these on the larger end. Like the smaller leases, those are the ones that are kind of harder to get a hold of. Somebody moves in occupying 500,000 square feet, like, yeah, we're probably going to get that one.
There are a lot in the east side.
Yeah, I mean, this is by our data, this area, like around the Ontario airport, that is the largest industrial submarket in the world. There's about 232 million square feet of warehouse space out there. There's another 40 million just in one facility going up in Moreno Valley. They should break ground sometime later this year. This is like, you know, the mecca of warehouse space, basically, in the United States, if not the world.
The Merino Valley, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Upcoming, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
It was just proliferating.
But there's sketches.
Yes, exactly. That,
They make money. They built that buildings years ago. I know 10 or 20 years ago. And then the last one go over the mountain. So there's no more there. They got, I don't know how many buildings there.
That's they're entitling it's 4,100 acres. It'll be about 42 million square feet total.
They just try to visit. They don't want to sell real estate. They don't want to sell real estate.
Well, that I have toured that facility. This is this is like the cutting edge of warehouse space. There's no air conditioning. It's like it's self-generated atmosphere in the building. So they're actually gold certified by LEED for a 1 million square foot warehouse. It's pretty crazy. And they were able to, I've been talking to the developer of this, that Skechers facility, they were distributed across like 3 or 4 different facilities here in Southern California. They condensed to that one location, I think actually reduced their footprint by a couple 100,000 square feet, and they've tripled their output because now it's all in one place.
All the facility or there's something out.
Well, I mean, Skechers has like the million, like the existing facility. I don't know if they have expansion plans for the rest of it, but yeah, that's gonna, I mean, it will be the largest industrial property in the United States when it's done. So it's a big old boy.
Another question I want to ask you is that were you able to find out, for example, industrial lease?
Mhm.
Were you able to find out who's going to be up, expire list?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Do that.
6 months?
So the question is, how can we find tenants with expiring leases?
Yeah,
So
like
Baloo's
6
gonna
months.
show you, David Baloo's gonna show you how to do that. The recently married David Baloo's gonna show you how to do that.
Oh wait, this is the new.
That's fine. It's cool. It's gonna come out the 24th anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so you guys are actually getting a little bit of a preview for what will be the overhauled tenant module here, this tenant companies view. If you have CoStar Access right now, this is not live for you yet. It will be sometime later this month.
How did you get through this page again?
Just hit tenants on the homepage.
Okay.
Yep. Briefly, what we're looking at on this page is just a stacked ranked of the largest tenants by the, like, ordered by the size that the space that they occupy in the United States. I was surprised to learn Walmart is actually leasing more space than Amazon right now.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
fun fact for the day.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go to tenant locations. This is what the tenant module will look like for you guys right now. Just let this load. So we want to do filters. Let's do industrial again.
City of Industry.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
So you can do move-in date. Are they subleasing it? Do they own it? You know, what's the relationship?
It's not gonna be expired in the
Yeah,
next
it's
6
fine.
months.
Yes, right here. Which I think there's some nuance to this right here of like what kind of filter you want to use, like what is the timeline for the approach there. To my mind, if they're 3 months out, they're probably either renewing,
Yeah.
going out of business, or that's somebody you probably don't want to get, involved
I
with,
think
like they
in
can't make
9 months
decisions.
they'll start talking about renewal.
I think so too. So I think the year, like I think even 6 months is probably like a little too soon. So I think the year,
Depends on the size of the property.
yeah. So we got 30 of those here.
Oh. Those are dirty, they can talk to. Yo, hold on. Waste. What do you want?
Oh, but there is a lower.
And again, like they might be renewing, they might have an option, like we don't know that yet. We just know that the reported lease that they signed has this expiration coming up. That's kind of on you guys now to figure out, where the opportunity is. Yes, Oscar.
I was wondering, from the leases, does it show what type of lease? it is?
Yes. Like if it's industrial gross, is it triple net? Is it modified gross, full service, like whatever the case? Yeah.
Question, if someone have an option to renew, are you able to tell from their database?
Generally not. If the renewal options were negotiated at the beginning, and like, especially if we have the effective rent and the lease comp, then yes, that will be included in there. But otherwise, not really any way for us to capture that.
And the broker is gonna be involved. He's
Yeah.
gonna be knocking at 8.
There might not even be a broker involved. It might just be the landlord and the tenant negotiating directly. Like,
Second term.
yeah.
Yeah.
In which case, no one's gonna know, because like, why would either of those people tell anybody any of that? So, a lot of potential variation with that. Another thing I would say, with these tenants here, maybe less so on industrial, but definitely for office and retail, half the time, these are just public companies. We may or may not have contact information for the tenants. 99% of the time, you can Google them and just go directly that way. The important information is that their lease's expiration is coming out.
But sometimes you don't get if you Google them, how can you get the name of the owner and all,
Well, that just depends, because like in this case with tenants,
Yeah.
like the owner name is like the business name. And so like, again, like a lot of the sort of depending on the search that you're doing, a lot of those are just public facing companies. If it's like let's say it's like a 7-Eleven, like you could just walk in and the owner is probably standing right there.
Right.
Or just what's the phone number on Google, like that's the owner, because it's the tenant, not necessarily the landlord.
Right.
The landlord, like we've got that information in like the properties tab. It's this tenant information that contact sometimes can be a little spotty, but a lot of time it's on Google.
All right, so it's 11 o'clock pretty much.
We had one other question from Jeffrey. Can you access industrial land for sale out of state?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
with CoStar access, you have access to everything in the United States and Canada. Yeah.
And the UK.
Well, we can't practice.
Really?
The UK.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, hotel data, international, like even outside of those companies. Well, when we purchased STR in 2019, we basically ported over their database into CoStar. So like specifically hotels, if you want information in like Mexico or Greece, like we have inventory there as well,
Wow. Oh my
just for
God.
hotels though.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, of course.
Japan, let's see. I think so.
So the question is, can we look at hotels in Japan? We're gonna find out. We don't know, but we'll
Wow.
see.
Oh, that would be awesome. Let's see.
Let's see, let me search like that. Yeah.
Downtown.
Hey.
Where is it?
Yeah, that's 20,000 hotels. Yeah,
Oh my
that?
it should be all hotels. Yeah.
So yes, we can track hotels in Japan too.
The owners do?
What?
The owners?
Yes,
Should
we should be able to. Let's see.
Got it.
We should be able to, but
Conrad, Tokyo.
They contact.
Contact.
Let's see what we got.
that's our first time doing this, so.
Wow. Cool.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. We do have their contact information.
I would say like blanket statement about the contact for like international, there's going to be like wildly different reporting like rules in different places. I mean, even in the US, like in Texas, for instance, you do not have to release the name of the owner of a property. Like the name on title, like that recorded owner that you can look up here, that doesn't exist in Texas necessarily. So like if there are countries that have situations like that, like France, for instance, this has been a very interesting thing we've been dealing with. So we're expanding into France. There are certain types of real estate listings in France where the broker and the owner are not allowed to post the address of the property that is available for sale and for lease.
Yeah.
And so like we're trying to work out how LoopNet is going to work there. And we've had to create this custom thing where we'll post a general area of the property is, because again, like it is not permitted for the address to be posted. So there's like, yeah. So there's very different, reporting requirements kind of depending on where you are. So just like, keep that in mind if you're going outside of the US, especially.
One thing I want to say about CoStar is really good because I saw properties in Colorado.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And Oscar was saying basically for the people online, Oscar says CoStar is really good because you can find properties in Colorado, which is true.
And like the that nationwide access, even if you're only transacting here in Southern California, since COVID, all kinds of people have left California into Texas, Arizona, Wyoming, whatever.
Florida.
They didn't take their commercial property with them, obviously. When you pull up that portfolio view that we've looked at a couple times today, where you can like see all their properties, you can see that regardless of where the properties are located or where the owner is located, like you just have full access to everything in our database, which didn't used to be the case. It used to be you had to pick out like individual territories you wanted. We kind of done away with that. I think here in California, because there's so much international investment or out-of-state investment or people leaving, like there's just a lot of activity coming and going, having access to everything, I think is really important for us here. Any questions?
All right, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And we will go ahead and stop sharing this.
Yep.
And that's it. Thanks for coming. There's David Ballou brought some breakfast there too.
Yeah, we Sumcrust has made an appearance again. Please, my wife will be upset with me if I bring this many cookies home. So please.
So the people online, you're missing out on one of the best breakfasts out there. We drove all the way from, was it Santa Clarita?
Claremont.
Claremont.
Just to reiterate what we were pitching earlier, if anybody is interested in this software platform, reach out to either Peter or myself. And we do have some slots available for agents that want to utilize this platform. Okay.
And for anybody that is interested in that, like the kind of session we did today, we can do that one-on-one. We will be here again in the office, I'm sure, over the coming months here. That kind of service and support is part of the subscription.
All right. That's all we have for today. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, guys.
David and Dennis.
Stop.